Create atmospheric perspective in a painting. Have you ever looked at a landscape painting and felt a sense of depth, as if you could step right into the scene? That magic comes from atmospheric perspective, a powerful technique that creates the illusion of distance. It's not about precise details or perfect lines. It's about understanding how air, light, and color work together to create depth. If you've ever struggled with making your backgrounds feel far away or your foregrounds look closer, this technique will change the way you paint. Stick around till the end of the video to learn the art and discover all the tips and techniques that will take your painting skills to the next level. Create atmospheric perspective in a painting. Have you ever looked at a landscape painting and felt a sense of depth, as if you could step right into the scene? That magic comes from atmospheric perspective, a powerful technique that creates the illusion of distance. It's not about precise details or perfect lines. It's about understanding how air, light, and color work together to create depth. If you've ever struggled with making your backgrounds feel far away or your foregrounds look closer, this technique will change the way you paint. What is atmospheric perspective? Atmospheric perspective, also called aerial perspective, is the effect that the atmosphere has on objects as they recede into the distance. In real life, the farther something is, the lighter, hazier, and less detailed it appears. This happens because of tiny particles in the air, dust, moisture, and even pollution that scatter light and soften colors. You can see this effect in nature. Distant mountains look pale and bluish, city skylines fade into a misty haze, and even trees in the background lose their contrast compared to those in the foreground. The key principles of atmospheric perspective. 1. Colors become lighter and cooler. As objects move into the distance, their colors fade. Warm colors like reds, oranges, and yellows tend to lose their intensity. Cool colors like blues and grays become more dominant. This is why distant mountains or buildings often look bluish or grayish, even if they are not actually those colors up close. Two, values become closer together. In the foreground, you have strong contrast, deep shadows, and bright highlights. As you move into the distance, darks and lights start to blend, making objects appear softer and less defined. Three, edges become softer and less detailed. Sharp, crisp details appear in the foreground. As objects recede, their edges blur, making them look misty or out of focus. This mimics how our eyes naturally perceive depth in real life. Four, overlapping and scale help create depth. A larger, detailed objects in the foreground contrast with smaller, hazy ones in the background. Overlapping elements reinforce the illusion of distance. Placing a tree in front of a distant mountain immediately pushes the mountain back. How to apply atmospheric perspective in your paintings. 1. Start with a strong value structure. Before adding color, try mapping out your painting in grayscale. Ensure that distant areas have lighter values and less contrast compared to the foreground. 2. Use color temperature to your advantage. In landscapes, use warmer tones for closer objects, yellows, oranges, rich browns, and cooler tones for distant elements, blues, grays, soft purples. If you're painting a warm sunset, remember that even warm tones get paler and cooler in the background. 3. Soften distant edges. Use a blending brush, dry brush technique, or glazing to soften edges in the background. This reduces focus and makes distant elements fade naturally. 4. Glazing for depth. Thin layers of blue or gray glazes over distant objects can create a hazy, realistic effect. Watercolor artists often achieve this naturally by using diluted washes for background elements. 'Great artists throughout history have used atmospheric perspective to enhance their work. Leonardo da Vinci was one of the first to fully understand and use this technique in his paintings, softening distant landscapes with a bluish haze. J.M.W. Turner used misty layers and delicate color transitions to create depth in his dramatic seascapes. Claude Monet in Impressionist landscapes often captured the effect of distance with soft edges and pale blues. Even modern digital artists and illustrators use this technique to create cinematic depth and immersive environments. 2. Paint a mountain scene with layers. Start with dark, detailed trees in the foreground. As you move back, lighten the mountains, add soft blues, and blur the edges. Three, experiment with glazing. Try adding thin, transparent blue layers over your background to create a natural atmospheric haze. 4. Observe nature. Next time you're outside, take a moment to look at how distant hills, buildings, or trees appear compared to those up close. Notice the color shifts, contrast changes, and edge softness. Atmospheric perspective is one of the easiest ways to create depth in your paintings, yet it's often overlooked. Instead of relying solely on linear perspective or strong outlines, use softness, color temperature, and value shifts to build realistic depth. So next time you paint a landscape, remember, depth isn't just about lines and shapes. It's about atmosphere. Try applying these principles and watch your paintings come to life.